I'm Sarah, and I'm 27, and at Thanksgiving, I asked my parents if the hospital had finally sent my surgery date. They told me they got the message last week, but they never even opened the email. Let that sink in for a moment. My surgery. The one procedure that could change everything for me. The email sitting there, unopened, while I spend days checking my own inbox obsessively, refreshing it every hour, my anxiety climbing higher and higher with each passing day. And they knew. They had the answer I was desperately waiting for, and they just didn't think it was important enough to tell me. Please, if you're listening to this, like this video, subscribe to Revenge Queens, and comment where you're watching from. Because what I'm about to tell you, it's going to make you question everything you thought you knew about family obligation. You need to understand something about my family before I go any further. My parents have always had this way of prioritizing things. My older brother Daniel? When he needed knee surgery after his college football injury, my mother took a week off work. She meal prepped for him, set up a recovery station in the living room, called the hospital 3 times a day with questions. My father rearranged his entire schedule to drive him to physical therapy appointments. My younger sister Emma? When she wanted to go to that expensive art school across the country, they remortgaged the house. They flew out with her, helped her move into her dorm, stayed for a week to make sure she was settled. My mother still calls her every single day. But me? I've always been the self-sufficient one. The one who doesn't need help. The one who figures things out. And you know what? I did figure things out. I had to. Because asking my parents for anything always came with this heavy sigh, this sense that I was inconveniencing them, that whatever I needed wasn't quite as important as whatever else was happening in their lives. When I was 16 and broke my arm, my mother didn't leave work early. She sent a neighbor to pick me up from the ER. When I graduated college with honors, they missed the ceremony because it conflicted with Daniel's birthday party. When I got my first apartment, I moved myself with a rented U-Haul and 2 friends, while my father helped Emma redecorate her dorm room that same weekend. So maybe I should have seen this coming. Maybe I should have known that when it really mattered, when my actual health and future were on the line, they still wouldn't show up for me. But God, I didn't want to believe it. I kept hoping that this time would be different. The surgery. I need you to understand why this matters so much. For 3 years, I've been dealing with endometriosis. 3 years of pain so severe that some days I couldn't get out of bed. 3 years of emergency room visits, of doctors dismissing me, of being told it was just bad periods, or all in my head. 3 years of my life shrinking smaller and smaller because I never knew when the pain would hit, when I'd have to cancel plans, call in sick to work, lie curled up on my bathroom floor at 3 in the morning, sobbing. Finally, I found a specialist who listened,
who believed me,
who looked at my scans and said, yes, this is real, this is serious, and we can fix this. The surgery she recommended could give me my life back, could let me make plans without fear, could stop the constant, grinding pain that had become the background noise of my existence. But the waiting list was 8 months long. 8 more months of pain, of uncertainty, of my life being on hold. The hospital told me they'd send the surgery date by email as soon as there was an opening, possibly sooner if there were cancellations. They emphasized how important it was to respond quickly, within 48 hours, or the spot would go to the next person on the list. I gave them every contact method I had. My email, my phone number, my parents' information as backup emergency contacts, because that's what you do, right? You list your parents because you assume they'll have your back if somehow you miss something critical. What a stupid assumption that turned out to be. So there I was on Thanksgiving, sitting at their dining room table. The same table where I'd sat for 27 Thanksgivings before. The same chairs, the same dishes, the same fake cornucopia centerpiece my mother brings out every November. Daniel was there with his wife and their new baby. Emma was home from art school for the holiday. Everything looked so normal, so traditional, so perfectly family-like. I had been checking my email all morning. Nothing from the hospital. Nothing. The anxiety was eating me alive, but I was trying to hold it together, trying to enjoy the day, trying not to be the difficult one, the dramatic one, the one who ruins everything by being too needy. We were halfway through dinner when I finally worked up the courage to ask, My hands were shaking as I set down my fork. Hey, Mom, Dad, did the hospital happen to send anything to your email? About my surgery date? I try to keep my voice casual, light, like it didn't matter that much. Like I hadn't been losing sleep over this for weeks. My mother didn't even look up from cutting her turkey.
Oh, yes.
That came through last week, I think. The room tilted. Last week. She took a bite, chewed slowly. Tuesday? Wednesday? I don't remember exactly. My father nodded, reaching for the gravy. Yeah, there was something from a hospital. We meant to mention it. Meant to mention it. Meant to mention it. My surgery date. The information I had been desperately, frantically waiting for. The email I had been checking my inbox for every single hour. And they meant to mention it. Did you open it? My voice sounded strange, distant, like it was coming from underwater. My mother finally looked at me, and there was this flicker of something in her eyes. Annoyance? Guilt? No, honey. We've been so busy with the holiday preparations. It's probably just administrative stuff anyway, right? They always send so many emails. The table had gone quiet. Daniel was staring at his plate. Emma had stopped mid-bite. Even the baby seemed to sense the tension, making small, fussy noises. It's not administrative stuff, Mom. It's my surgery date. The one I've been waiting 8 months for. The one I told you about. Multiple times. The one that could change my entire life. My father set down his wine glass with a heavy thud. Sarah, don't be dramatic. We're in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner.
Dramatic.
That word. That goddamn word they always used when I dared to express any emotion that wasn't convenient for them. Can you please just check the email? Right now? Please? I could hear the desperation in my voice, the pleading tone I hated, the sound of me making myself small again, asking for the bare minimum and knowing even that might be too much. My mother sighed. That long, suffering sigh that said I was being unreasonable, that I was asking too much, that I was ruining everything. Sarah, we're eating. Can't this wait until after dinner? Something inside me snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just a quiet, cold break. Like ice cracking. No, I said. It can't wait. Because they told me I have 48 hours to respond or I lose my spot. And if you got that email last week, then I've already missed the deadline. Do you understand what that means? The silence that followed was deafening. If you're still watching this, it means something about the story is resonating with you. It means maybe you know what it feels like to be dismissed by the people who are supposed to love you most. Please hit subscribe, or if you won't, comment why you're choosing not to. I read every single one, and I genuinely want to understand. My mother's face shifted then. A flicker of realization, followed quickly by defensiveness. Well, how are we supposed to know it was urgent? You never said. I told you. The words burst out of me, louder than I intended. I told you this was important. I told you the surgery could happen any time, and I needed to know immediately. I told you this was the most important thing in my life right now. Don't raise your voice at your mother. My father cut in, his tone sharp. We've had a lot going on. The baby shower for Daniel's wife, helping Emma with her student loans, your mother's book club commitments. My surgery. I was standing now, though I don't remember getting up. My surgery that could end 3 years of chronic pain. That's what you were too busy to check on. Daniel cleared his throat uncomfortably. Sarah, maybe if you had followed up. Followed up? I gave them my information as a backup. As an emergency contact. Because I check my own email constantly. But they sent it to you because I must have been unreachable, or they thought family should know, or my mind was racing, trying to make sense of it. Why would they even send it to you, and not me? That's when the real horror started to sink in. Why would the hospital email my parents instead of me? I need to see that email. Now. My voice was shaking. My mother exchanged a look with my father. A look I knew well. The look that said they were deciding how much truth to tell me, how much they could get away with hiding. Fine. My mother pushed back from the table, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. I'll get my laptop. The minutes while we waited felt like hours. Emma tried to make small talk about school. Daniel focused intently on his baby. My father refilled his wine glass twice. I stood there, frozen, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. When my mother came back, she opened her laptop with deliberate slowness, her fingers moving across the keyboard like she was doing me some enormous favor. I watched her face as she opened her email, watched her scroll, watched her eyes scan the screen, and I watched her face go pale. Well, I demanded. There are several emails.
Her voice was quieter now.
Several? She turned the laptop toward me, and my entire world tilted again. For emails. For separate emails from the hospital. The first one from 3 weeks ago, with the subject line, urgent, surgery date confirmed, response required within 48 hours. Unopened. A second email from 2 weeks ago, reminder, surgery appointment requires confirmation. Unopened. A third email from 10 days ago, final notice, surgery slot will be released without response. This one had been opened, and then marked as unread. And a fourth email from last week, surgery appointment canceled due to no response, returned to waiting list. They didn't forget. They didn't just overlook one email. They received 4 emails over the course of 3 weeks. And one of them, at least one of them, they actually opened. They saw it. They read it. And then they marked it unread and never told me. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely hold the laptop. You opened this one. You saw that it was urgent. You read final notice and you just marked it unread and forgot about it. Now, Sarah, my father started. Don't. The word came out like a growl. Don't you dare try to explain this away. You saw this. You knew it was urgent. And you couldn't take 5 seconds to forward it to me? To call me? To text me? We thought you already knew, my mother said, but her voice was weak, unconvincing even to herself. We thought surely the hospital would have contacted you directly. Then why did you open it? Why did you read it if you thought I already knew? Tears were streaming down my face now, hot and angry. And even if you thought I knew, wouldn't you want to make sure? Wouldn't you want to check in with your daughter about her surgery date? The truth was sitting there between us, ugly and undeniable. They hadn't forgotten. They hadn't been too busy. They just hadn't cared enough to prioritize it. In the mental hierarchy of importance in their lives, my surgery, my pain, my health, my future, ranked somewhere below book club and baby showers and everything else that filled their days. You're being unfair, my mother said, and now there was an edge to her voice. We have a lot of responsibilities, Sarah. We can't drop everything every time you need something. Every time? Every time. I was shouting now, and I didn't care. When was the last time I asked you for anything? When was the last time I came to you for help? Silence. I'll tell you when. It was 3 years ago when this all started and you told me I was probably just stressed and should try yoga. And you know what? I did try yoga. I tried everything. I suffered in silence because I knew that asking you for support was pointless. But this one thing, having my surgery information as a backup contact, that was supposed to be the absolute bare minimum of parental involvement, and you couldn't even do that. Stop being so dramatic, my father said, his face reddening. You're ruining Thanksgiving. Your brother and sister are here. We're trying to have a nice family meal. I'm dramatic? The laugh that came out of me was bitter, broken. I'm dramatic for being upset that you let me miss the surgery I've been waiting 8 months for? I'm dramatic for caring that I just got pushed back to the bottom of a waiting list that could take another year? I'm dramatic for being angry that you couldn't be bothered to spend 5 minutes helping me? You're making this about us, my mother interjected, but really, this is about your responsibility. You should have been more proactive. You should have. Stop. I held up my hand. Just stop. Don't try to twist this. Don't try to make this my fault. You had 4 emails. For chances to do the right thing.
And you chose not to.
That's on you. That's entirely, completely, 100% on you. Emma was crying quietly. Daniel was staring at his plate like it held the secrets of the universe. The baby was wailing now, picking up on all the tension. And my parents looked offended. Not guilty. Not apologetic. offended that I was calling them out, offended that I was refusing to let them rewrite the narrative, offended that I was choosing this moment to finally stand up for myself. If you support people choosing peace over toxic family dynamics, please subscribe to Revenge Queens. And if you don't want to, tell me in the comments. I genuinely want to understand why you wouldn't. I'm leaving, I said, my voice eerily calm now. The anger had burned through into something colder, clearer. I'm going home, and I'm going to call the hospital myself and fix whatever mess I can fix. Oh, now you're going to storm out? My father said. Very mature, Sarah. I looked at him, really looked at him, and wondered when I had stopped expecting anything from these people. When had I accepted that they would always let me down? When had I made peace with being the lowest priority in their lives?
Yeah, Dad.
I'm going to storm out. Because staying here, pretending this is okay, pretending we're a normal family having a normal Thanksgiving, that would be immature. That would be me lying to myself. And I'm done lying to myself about what you are. I grabbed my purse and my coat. Nobody tried to stop me. Nobody apologized. As I walked to the door, I heard my mother say to the table, "Well, she's always been sensitive." Sensitive. Another word they used to dismiss me. Another way of saying my feelings were inconvenient. My pain was exaggerated. My needs were unreasonable. I made it to my car before I completely broke down. Sitting in the driver's seat, staring at my parents' house through tears, I let myself feel the full weight of it. The betrayal. The abandonment. The crushing realization that I had spent 27 years hoping they would suddenly see me, value me, love me the way they loved Daniel and Emma. And they never would. My hands were still shaking as I pulled out my phone and searched for the hospital's after-hours line. It was Thanksgiving evening. I had no idea if anyone would even answer. But I had to try. A nurse picked up on the fourth ring. I explained the situation through tears, apologizing for calling on a holiday, barely able to get the words out coherently. She put me on hold. 5 minutes passed.
10.
I sat there in the darkening parking lot, watching lights come on in my parents' house, imagining them going back to their dinner, moving on, forgetting about me as easily as they'd forgotten about those emails. When the nurse came back on the line, her voice was kind but firm. "I've pulled up your file. I see that we sent multiple reminders to the emergency contact on file. Is that your parents' email?"
Yes.
They didn't tell me. There was a pause. A long, knowing pause that made me cry harder, because even the stranger could hear the pain in my voice and understand what that meant. "I'm so sorry," she said, and she sounded like she meant it. "The protocol is that after 48 hours with no response, the appointment is automatically canceled and the patient is returned to the waiting list. At this point, you're looking at approximately 6 to 8 more months for the next available slot." 6 to 8 more months. Half a year to a full year of continued pain. Of my life continuing to be on hold. Of suffering because my parents couldn't be bothered to forward an email. However, the nurse continued, and I heard her typing, "Let me see what I can do. Your case was flagged as urgent by Dr. Martinez. Give me your direct contact information, email and phone, and I'm going to update your file right now so all communication comes to you, and only you. No more emergency contacts." "Thank you," I whispered. "Thank you so much." And she paused, typed some more. "I'm going to send a message to the scheduling coordinator. Sometimes when there's a communication breakdown like this, especially when it's not the patient's fault, we can expedite the rescheduling process. I can't make any promises, but I'm going to note in your file exactly what happened. Check your email tomorrow, okay? Your direct email. And answer your phone if you see our number calling." I sat in that car for another hour after we hung up. I couldn't go back inside that house. I couldn't face them. But I also couldn't quite make myself drive away yet. I kept thinking about all the times I'd made excuses for them. All the times I'd told myself they were just busy, just distracted, just imperfect parents doing their best. But this wasn't imperfect. This was negligent. This was cruel. This was a clear, undeniable message about where I ranked in their priorities. And that message was nowhere that mattered. I drove home that night with the radio off, the silence pressing in on me from all sides. My apartment felt emptier than usual when I walked in. I made myself tea that I didn't drink. I sat on my couch in the dark and let myself grieve, not just for the missed surgery date, but for the relationship I'd never had with my parents. For the version of them I'd created in my head who would care, who would show up, who would fight for me the way parents are supposed to fight for their children. That version had never existed. I'd been clinging to a fantasy. The next morning, Black Friday, while everyone else was shopping or recovering from Thanksgiving, I woke up to an email from the hospital. My breath caught as I opened it, afraid it would be another piece of bad news, another delay, another disappointment. But it wasn't. The scheduling coordinator had reviewed my case. She'd seen the notes from the nurse, seen the communication breakdown, seen the urgency flag from my doctor. And she'd found me a spot. Not 6 to 8 months away. 3 weeks. 3 weeks from that day, there was a cancellation and it was mine if I wanted it. I wanted it. God, I wanted it. I responded to that email in under 60 seconds. I called and confirmed. I set up 3 reminder alerts on my phone. I wrote the date on my calendar in permanent marker. And then I sat on my kitchen floor and cried with relief so overwhelming it physically hurt. Over the next 3 weeks, I threw myself into preparation. I arranged time off work. I meal prepped food for my recovery. I set up a recovery station in my bedroom with everything I need within arm's reach. I asked friends if they could help drive me to and from the hospital, help me with basic tasks during the first few days. And they said yes. They showed up. They cared. The people I had chosen, my friends, my support network, they came through for me in ways my biological family never had. My parents didn't call to check on me. Not once during those 3 weeks. Not to apologize, not to ask about the surgery, not even to pretend they cared. Radio silence. Until the day before my surgery when my phone rang. My mother's name on the screen. I stared at it for 3 rings before answering. Hi, Mom. Sarah. Hi, honey. Listen, your father and I need a favor. Do you remember that investment advisor we told you about? The one Daniel recommended? Well, they need some information about the family trust, and since you're the one who's good with paperwork. I held the phone away from my ear for a moment, staring at it in disbelief. She wanted a favor. She was calling to ask me for something. Not to check on me, not to apologize, not to acknowledge what had happened at Thanksgiving. She wanted me to help her with paperwork. Mom, I interrupted her mid-sentence. I have surgery tomorrow.
Oh.
A pause. Right.
That.
Did you get that rescheduled? Did I get that rescheduled? Like it was a dentist appointment. Like it was something trivial I'd been whining about.
Yes.
No thanks to you. Sarah, please. We've moved past that, haven't we? It was just a misunderstanding. It wasn't a misunderstanding, Mom. You opened the email. You read it. You saw it was urgent.
And you chose not to tell me.
That wasn't a misunderstanding. That was a choice. Well, if you're going to hold grudges. I'm not holding a grudge. I'm holding a boundary. I'm not doing favors for you. I'm not being your administrative assistant. I'm not being available whenever you suddenly need something, after weeks of silence. I'm recovering from surgery. I'm taking care of myself. Because clearly nobody else is going to do it. That's very selfish, Sarah. I laughed. Actually laughed. Yeah, Mom. I'm the selfish one. Not the parents who couldn't be bothered to forward an email about their daughter's surgery. Not the parents who prioritized book club and baby showers over their daughter's health.
Me.
The one asking for basic decency and respect. I'm the selfish one. Your father is very disappointed in you.
Good.
Tell him I'm disappointed in him too. Tell him I'm disappointed that I wasted 27 years hoping he'd suddenly become the father I deserved. Tell him I'm done. I hung up, and then I blocked their numbers. Not out of spite, not out of anger, though I felt plenty of both, but out of self-preservation. Because every time I talked to them, I felt myself shrinking again, doubting myself again, wondering if maybe I was overreacting, maybe I was being too sensitive, maybe I should just forgive them and move on. But I wasn't overreacting. I wasn't being sensitive. I was being sane. The surgery went well. Better than expected, actually. Dr. Martinez was amazing. The recovery was hard, painful, exhausting, frustrating, but my friends showed up. They brought me food, sat with me when I couldn't sleep, helped me shower when I was too weak to do it myself, watched bad TV with me, and didn't complain when I cried for no reason because the pain medication made me emotional. They loved me in the ways that mattered, the ways that showed up, the ways that counted. 6 weeks later, I was healing, not just physically, emotionally. I was learning to live without the constant background radiation of pain. I was making plans again. I was sleeping through the night. I was feeling like myself again, or maybe like a new version of myself. A version that knew her worth. A version that didn't accept crumbs and call it love. My parents tried to call a few more times from different numbers. My mother sent a birthday card 2 months late with a generic message. My father sent an email asking if I'd calmed down yet. Daniel texted saying the family was worried about me, that I was being divisive, that I should just forgive and forget because that's what families do. But I'd learned something crucial. Blood doesn't make family. Showing up makes family. Caring makes family. Respecting someone's pain and health and boundaries, that makes family. And by that definition, my parents had never been family at all. They'd just been people I was related to. People who wanted me to play a role, the self-sufficient daughter, the one who doesn't need anything, the one who makes herself small and convenient and undemanding. I was done playing that role. I'm not going to lie and say it doesn't still hurt sometimes. That there aren't moments when I see other people with their parents, real relationships, loving relationships, and feel that ache of what I don't have, what I'll never have. That there aren't holidays when I feel the absence, even though I chose it, even though it was necessary. But here's what I know now. I didn't choose the absence.
They did.
When they ignored those emails, when they dismissed my pain, when they prioritized their convenience over my health, they chose the absence. They chose to not be parents to me in any meaningful way. I just finally chose to stop pretending otherwise. I chose peace. I chose self-respect. I chose to surround myself with people who see me, value me, show up for me. I chose to stop waiting for my parents to become who I needed them to be and started becoming my own source of support and validation. And you know what? For the first time in my life, I feel free. Free from the constant disappointment. Free from the endless hoping. Free from making myself smaller so they could feel bigger. Free from the exhausting work of maintaining a relationship that only ever went one direction. I'm Sarah. I'm 27. I survived 3 years of chronic pain, a family that didn't show up for me, and a medical system that almost failed me because of their negligence. I had surgery that changed my life. And then I made choices that changed my life even more. Families shouldn't gamble with your health. They should make you beg for basic care and consideration. They shouldn't punish you for having needs. And if they do, if they show you again and again that you're not a priority, that your pain doesn't matter, that your existence is an inconvenience, you have permission to walk away. You have permission to choose peace over blood relation. You have permission to build your own family from people who actually love you. You have permission to stop setting yourself on fire to keep people warm who wouldn't cross the street to get you a glass of water. Trust your instincts. Protect yourself. Choose the people who choose you. And never, ever apologize for demanding the bare minimum of respect and care from the people in your life. If this story resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to Revenge Queens. Comment below and tell me where you're watching from. Tell me your story if you want to share it. Tell me I'm not alone in this. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is speak the truth about family dysfunction. Sometimes revenge isn't about getting even, it's about getting free. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for understanding that this wasn't about one missed email, it was about a lifetime of being unseen. And thank you for seeing me now. I'm Sarah. I chose peace. And I've never been more at peace in my entire life.